Greetings, it's Geek Reviews, and I have several brief things to say before I start this review. First and foremost, I'm going to make a gaming channel in which I play through my favorite video games called Geek Reviews Playthroughs. I've already made the first 25 videos. It's just a matter of time until I begin uploading them. Next, the reason the videos aren't coming out as often is not because I'm lazy, but because I have no time to see movies due to school and other activities. That's all, let's get into the review. Everest tells the tale of the 1996 Everest expedition teams attempting to reach the top and the disaster that follows. There's been a good amount of films about this tragedy, this one of course being the latest. It was directed by Baltasar Kormaker, sorry for my pronunciation. He directed films such as Two Guns, The Deep, and The Sea. It has a big star-studded cast, including Jake Gyllenhaal, of course known for Donnie Darko, Nightcrawler, and just this year, Southpaw. Keira Knightley of The Imitation Game and the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, Jason Clarke of Zero Dark 30, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Josh Brolin of Guardians of the Galaxy, No Country for Old Men, and many, 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 many more. Yeah, that's about it for the cast. Onward to story mode. It's a retelling of the true disaster that happened on Mount Everest almost 20 years ago. Basically, a man named Rob Hall, played by Jason Clarke, guides a group of motivated people as they climb the mountain at the same time as a few other groups climb the same mountain, of course. One of which is led by Gyllenhaal, who plays Scott Fisher. They make it to the top, low on oxygen, with a huge storm coming, leading to, well, disaster. That's basically it for the story, I suppose. So, let's get into the bad. First of all, there are a lot of characters, and most of them I didn't care about in the slightest. I could probably tell you 3 of their names, and that really is a major flaw. One could argue I wasn't paying good enough attention, but I was going into this not expecting to have to. I was going into this expecting a simple, suspenseful disaster film, not Game of Thrones. And that's another thing. It was simple. It's just a climb up Everest with a storm. There's no twists, no turns, or anything. No good or bad guys, no morals, no nothing. Which makes it somewhat tedious. Now then again, it is a true story, so I can't blame it for that. It's just giving you the facts as they happen and not adding anything, which I admire. If they did want to go this route, I personally would suggest cutting the film a bit, because after you get used to the edge of your seat cinematography and setting, it becomes kind of boring, mostly because I didn't care about the characters. If I did, then they would take over once the suspense got old, but they didn't, leading it to have a good 15 minutes of boring scenes of people lying in the snow, doing nothing, except for dying. Spoilers. Another thing I thought was kind of funny was they did something similar to the I was one day from retirement cliche. I won't get into that because I'd be close to spoiler zone, but watch it and see if you see what I mean. Lastly, Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing in everything, and this is no exception, but he was extremely underused. I mean, Bryan Cranston in Godzilla underused. If they made him one of the leads, I think his performance could have kept me entertained throughout. I mean, Jason Clarke is a good actor, and Josh Brolin actually did really well, but they can't bring the same emotion Gyllenhaal can. He saved Southpaw from being mediocre. Think of what he could have done to this. It truly is a waste of talent, in my opinion. Okay, enough hating. Let's get into the good. The cinematography was breathtaking, and I highly recommend you see this in IMAX 3D. It was an experience more than anything. It submerged you into the film, and at times you almost start feeling what the characters are feeling. Not because of the acting, but because of the amazing IMAX and cinematography and all that. It's a film I probably wouldn't like if I saw it anywhere else besides a movie theater. Also, the suspense was good. Probably a good warm-up film to watch if you don't think you can quite handle the walk. But seriously, though, the suspense was great. In particular, the helicopter scene. I was on the edge of my seat for that. More so than the latter scene on the poster. Next, they gave most of the characters something to define them, and something they had to lose, so they weren't just props to see try to avoid dying on Everest. Clark's character was given a baby, Brolin had a wife and kids, and I know this shouldn't be positive or negative, as it was a true story, but, I mean, it worked out well. And I mean no disrespect to those who lost their lives. I'm just, reviewing it, you know? You know what yeah. In the end, Everest is an experience more than anything else. If you're not going to see it in theaters, I recommend you don't see it at all. It's masterfully filmed, with beautiful and terrifying scenes, and somewhat dull characters that I couldn't keep track of. The true star of the film was Mount Everest itself.